Alright. What's good, y'all? Soul here, and welcome back to my story mode. So, as of recently, like a lot of you guys I'm sure, I have finished everything that I've wanted to do in part 2 of the DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, the Indigo disc. And I do say everything I wanted to do because technically I probably didn't do everything because, in all honesty, this is a pretty damn jam-packed DLC. However, I did about 3 days worth of things before I finally put that controller down, so please believe me when I say I did as much as I could before I decided I really needed to get working on this video. And for the 5 of you guys that are asking, wait a minute, why didn't you do a My Adventures in like you did with Kitakami? And I'll be honest with you, I was super duper lazy. On one hand, I could probably just recap all of the events that happened during my playthrough of Kitakami, however, all I would be doing is re-explaining the exact same experiences you guys probably had within the game. I didn't really do anything that outwardly specific or, unique as opposed to anybody else. And also because I have a lot of videos that I want to make before the end of the year, which is in like 2 weeks from now, by the way, so yeah, I kinda gotta get going. And so we finally take a look at this jam-packed DLC. But is it really truly a jam-packed sandwich full of delicious different flavors and unique tastes? Or is it just a glorified garbage can? I'm going to be talking about everything regarding my experience to this, so just so you know, this is not spoiler free. If you do not want to get spoiled on anything regarding the Indigo disc, I suggest you get the hell out of here right now, finish the game for yourself, or finish watching it, whatever you're doing, and then come back to see my thoughts. And so, with all of that being said, why don't we finally get into my review, quote-unquote, of Part 2 of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, the Indigo disc. I know in my final thoughts video I hit you guys with a little bit of a curveball, but I'm not gonna do that this time. Your jaws are safe. Let's go ahead and talk about all of the good things that this DLC brought to the table. For starters, one of the best things about this DLC is, of course, all of the returning Pokemon. The first thing that I saw when I walked out into the terrarium is just Flygon. Just kind of chilling out there, just wandering around doing its thing. That was amazing to see. Fun fact, when I was younger, Flygon, right next to Cacturn, was my favorite Pokemon when I first really got into Pokemon. Seeing Flygon reminded me immediately that I had so many different Pokemon to look forward to seeing in this terrarium, and that was super exciting. My first mission, the moment I saw that, was to look for Metagross, whatever you guys say. At the very least, since I knew that I didn't have access to Pokemon Home yet to get my regular Metagross out, I figured, hey, whatever, I could just find one out here, it's gonna be plenty strong, I could train it up a little bit, and I could use it for the main story. And at some point, that is exactly what I did when I wasn't distracted by all of the other stuff going on. One of the best feelings as a Pokemon fan is opening up a brand new game and going out and just being able to catch all these brand new Pokemon for your fresh new Pokédex. And thankfully, every DLC so far, from Sword and Shield to Scarlet and Violet, has managed to capture just a glimpse of that feeling. There was even a situation in which you could only use Pokemon that are available in the terrarium for battle. So, it was pretty damn fun to go around just utilizing Pokemon that I didn't think that I would be using for that point in time. Speaking of which, I gotta say, this one had a little bit of challenge to it. And when I say a little bit, I mean pretty much more than any of the previous DLCs have ever given us. And this is something that I'm not mad about at all. However, there is one thing that I would have changed to make it even better, but I'll talk about that at the end. I literally almost blacked out a couple of times just battling trainers in the terrarium. The only reason I didn't is because I already had pre-established Pokemon that I was able to use in my party that could actually handle their attacks better. But even then, it wasn't by a very substantial amount. Most of the trainers in the terrarium had level 68 Pokemon minimum. Which means that even my pride and joy Dragonite Asiya was getting almost demolished half the time. And that was awesome! There's also the fact that every trainer battle within the terrarium is a double battle. I don't know if y'all remember this, but in the base game, and in Kitakami, we didn't get a lot of double battles. That was not a very common thing at all. That's something that I probably should have prepared for a little bit, but I definitely didn't start doing so until it was way too late. No team that I ever had was really set up for double battles. And so it made for some really interesting scenarios, and it made it kind of fun in a way. It definitely took some getting used to though, because there was quite a few situations in which I had my Dragonite ready to use Earthquake, and then I realized, oh my god, I might kill the other Pokemon that I have out on the field. And probably went through with it anyway, because who cares, I could heal it up later anyway. Overall though, I really enjoyed that. Doing double battles for the entire time really changed up the game. It changed up the battlefield a lot, and therefore I had to change my mindset a lot. Something that actually bleeds into the challenge, funny enough, is how much I enjoyed the story. Unlike part 1 of the DLC, part 2 is focused strictly on the characters. And you know, that was definitely a given, considering the fact that Kieran literally went through an entire phase in part 1, so yeah, no, we definitely expected this, but I didn't expect it to be this engaging. Kieran's change literally led the entire story, straight up. He's champion of the BB League, he treats everybody like garbage, even his sister, and he is determined to beat my ass, even though he didn't even know that I was going to be transferred to his school. He went from the wimpy kid that hid behind his sister at every little interaction and cough to the strongest NPC in the entire series. That's not a joke. I looked it up somewhere. He is the strongest NPC by technicality. That is ridiculous. In canon, I still don't think he has a chance in hell against Red, but that's a conversation for another day. But because of this, Drayton, I'm assuming Drayton's son or grandson, was really determined to get me up the ranks in the BB League so that I could take him down, because Dog took one look at me and knew, yeah, this is gonna be the kid to put this man down. He needs to be knocked down like 3 pegs. Speaking of the BB League, not only do I enjoy these characters and their involvement in the story, but I appreciate the fact that they gave us the BB League, ergo, the Elite Four. Battling all of these characters makes me wonder why Nemona didn't apply to Blueberry Academy first. I'm just saying, if there was anybody that was going to give Kieran a run for his money for champion of the BB League, it was absolutely going to be Nemona. Why was she not here? That's crazy to me. I enjoyed the little challenges they gave us right before their battles, and I enjoyed battling these guys a lot. They had some unique teams and some pretty good setups with said teams, and you know what? I gotta appreciate that. But on top of everything, I love their involvement in the story because it was very obvious from the get-go that they all cared very much about Kieran and how he was being, and that they know his love of battling, but they could see that it was eating him alive, and all they wanted was for their club to go back to the way it was. It was a cute little story, and I very much enjoyed that. Now, I will be honest about something that isn't necessarily too much of a negative because it didn't really impact my overall thoughts on the story too much. However, I will say that the end with Terrapagos and stuff like that kind of felt shoehorned in a little bit. Granted, that entire final event was very good for Kieran's character, so I'm glad that it happened. However, all of the lore and stuff like that really took a backseat when it comes to Terrapagos, and that's a little unfortunate, but at the same time, like I said earlier at the beginning of my little ramble there, this story was focused on its characters and it did exactly what it set out to do. I will always find it strange though that Miss Briar and all of the stuff with Terrapagos wasn't even remotely mentioned until I immediately became the BB champion. But hey, whatever, all's well that ends well. And speaking of stories, even though it isn't anything major, I really appreciate the fact that they went out of their way to give us the little side story with Team Star. I'll be honest, if it weren't for the fact that somebody on Twitter kind of spoiled that they were actually in this DLC, I would have completely forgotten about it. Thankfully though, I made my way back to the school where I assumed that they were going to be, they were ready to chit chat, and I became their tutor. This entire sequence, right here, being their tutor, talking to them, getting to know their individual personalities, is by and far the most adorable thing in this game, and it's not even close. It almost makes me angry, right? Because of how good this is, because this is the kind of thing that I want more of, so much more of. This is what they could have used more of the school for. Stuff like this. Absolutely wasted potential. I'm so glad at the very least though, we got this little snippet of what could be. I appreciate it a lot. I appreciate the fact that they gave them any form of love at all, because it's better that they got this than to be completely forgotten and just lost in the confines of Generation 9. It's very rare to get turnaround stories like this too, because 9 times out of 10, the villains, quote unquote, in Pokemon games usually kind of just die or disappear or something like that. So in the case of Team Star, which is just a bunch of student delinquents, it's very good and very refreshing to see such a turnaround for them. They want to make an actual effort to be better, you know? They're willing to go out of their way to learn and even get help from the person that whooped their asses respectfully. It was a good time. I really, really appreciated that. And the outfits that you get from that, absolutely baller. Another thing that I really appreciate, BB quests. Straight up, it's a brand new form of currency that works specifically for the terrarium for pretty much all of the casual things that you do while roaming around the terrarium anyway. Maybe not so much the taking pictures part, because that's a little out of the way, but other than that, yeah, no, just casual quests and points that you get for doing said quests. And naturally, the more quests that you do, the better ones that you get, and the better quests that you get, the more that you earn, and so on. Yeah, no, it's very easy to get stuck in this like addictive loop, especially when you realize that the store at Blueberry Academy sells pretty much everything that you will ever need specifically for those BB League points, bro. This also kind of bleeds into the fact that I kind of really like the club room situation going on, but I bring up the club room because BB points are pretty much how you get anything done in there. It's how you change the aesthetic. It's how you add gadgets and gizmos to the room. And after you beat the game and get in the post game, it's how you invite more people to the room that you can battle and stuff like that. Mostly familiar faces, or pretty much all familiar faces actually. All gym leaders, all friends and stuff like that. And honestly, yeah, it's easy to spend a lot of time in that room when you get into that loop. It really does feel like a club room, and once you become president, it's a fire vibe. I love it, absolutely. However though, I will be honest, like I said earlier, I didn't do everything that I would have wanted to do, and one of those things is that I didn't finish doing everything that I could have in the club room, because I haven't invited everybody to the club room, and I haven't seen all the different dialogues and stuff like that. However, the little bit that I did do, I had a very good time with. It's just a little bit grindy, if we're being honest. But other than that, it was an alright time. One of the last couple things that I want to mention is the fact that they made it incredibly easy now to change your Terra type, because literally Terra crystals, or Terra shards rather, are just loitered all over the place. Just run in a straight direction, you'll have picked up like 120 of like multiple types of Terra shards all over the floor. Incredible. Thank you for making life easier for Shinx's sake in regards to changing Terra types. I have so many Terra types that I want to fix. And now I can actually do that without having to worry about doing a million different Terra raids of the same type. Thank goodness. And lastly, we can play as our Pokemon. I'll be honest with you, I'm not entirely sure what purpose this serves other than, you know, just being able to fart around and do whatever you want in the open world as a Pokemon. But, you know, cool. That's great. A fun little why not addition that probably took a while, considering the fact that we are able to control literally every Pokemon that's available in the game as long as we're in the terrarium. So, you know, props. Very much appreciated that you did that at all, even if it's not like the biggest thing to me, but I'm glad it's there. And that just about does it for all of my likes, because man, they did a lot going into this DLC. A lot more than I originally ever anticipated. A lot that they really didn't even need to do. But even with the limited amount of time that they had, they still did a lot. And you know what? I can't even be mad about that. So I appreciate it a lot, especially with the amount of post-game that we have available to us now with these changes. So props to you guys for that. I say all that because I really wanted to make sure that all of the stuff that I do appreciate didn't go unappreciated. And so I had to let you guys know that, because right now we're swapping over and we're talking about some of my negatives in regards to this DLC now. The first of which, very obviously, is the function. I can't believe how many times we've had to talk about this now because, oh my god, but it's something that you just can't look past at all. I kind of throw function and graphics together at this point because the graphics are ugly as per usual, but it doesn't help that they are popping in and out almost like it's intending to give you a seizure, because my goodness, this game runs like dog ass. I'm sorry, there is simply no way to sugarcoat it, because playing this game sometimes made me so frustrated when it would slow down. The frame rate was killing me sometimes, but I managed to push past the slog. But the fact that I had to push past so much slog sometimes is always going to be frustrating. Very frustrating. And ideally, it's nice to see what they were trying to do in terms of separating 4 different biomes so that we had a lot of different places to explore and a lot of different Pokemon living in said biomes to check out and catch and battle against. But at the same time, you know, it looks ugly. there's no sugarcoating that. It looks ugly. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm glad it happened, but it don't look good. Simple as that. Next up is the fact that there's virtually not really a lot of side quests going on here. Which is weird, because this was absolutely the opportunity to take to add more side quests to this, right? Because we did get the whole situation with Team Star, and I appreciate that, but it was hardly a side quest. It takes all of 3 minutes to complete. I wanted to talk to more teachers, get to know different students and stuff like that at Blueberry Academy. I did not get that whatsoever. On top of this, it's almost insulting because Perrine is literally here. Like in Kitakami, she gives you the side quest to get a certain amount of Pokemon before you take on her quest, which I think, oh, okay, cool. So I have a side quest waiting for me. I just gotta get 200 Pokemon logged into the Pokédex. I did all that work just for her to give me 2 pictures so I could have access to Iron Crown and Iron Boulder, Pokemon I don't really care that much about because I'm probably never gonna use them. So I figured, okay, whatever, let me just go get these Pokemon and see what she's talking about. I went down there and accidentally killed Iron Boulder, got pissed, and just looked up what she was gonna give me. And my reward, a Sport Ball. A Sport Ball. Suffice to say, I did not finish that quest. I did not go out of my way to even try to find Iron Crown because I realized I was wasting my time. Granted, I can't be too mad about this one because they did still give us a lot to do, right? However, it's just a little annoying considering the fact that they gave us a true, real side quest with Perrine in Kitakami. She's literally here. We don't even get a side quest with her. That's pretty weird. That's pretty weird to me, man. One thing that I will complain about, though, regarding BB quests, is that it gets a little annoying, especially after a while, how monotonous they are. Because it is the same few quests over and over and over and over again. And after a while, it's just like, man, we could definitely switch this up a little bit, right? Granted, I'm fully aware of the fact that these are supposed to be very easy to get points, which is why they're so repetitive and so easy. Catch one Pokemon, sneak up on a Pokemon, take a picture of a Pokemon, take a picture of another Pokemon, catch this type of Pokemon. I get it, right? They're supposed to be super easy to get, and after a couple, you know, you rack up a couple of them, and all of a sudden now you have a big point one. Now you have to battle a wild Terra Pokemon, you have to beat a Terra raid, you have to hatch a Pokemon, you have to make a sandwich. And that's fine and all, but that gets really old when it's only netting you like 100 to 150 to maybe 200 points if you don't change out the quest. And I did get to changing out quests quite a bit because some of those were just a little more out of the way than others sometimes. Like hatching a Pokemon egg, I have to make a Pokemon egg. You realize that, right? Not that it's hard, but it's so invasive and out of the way. Like, dog, no. I'm just a little annoyed that they didn't make a better system, right? Because they could have easily made it so that if we fought other trainers, we could get BB points from them. We could win BB points from battles and stuff like that. Maybe we could go to a challenge room or something and earn BB points that way, playing some kind of mini games or something. Maybe, if they wanted to, they could have used the synchronize with your Pokemon feature and we could have earned BB points that way. I'm just saying, there's so many opportunities that they had to utilize this system with, and they just didn't. They gave us menial tasks that got super repetitive, and we don't earn enough to really justify doing that for hours on end, especially when we need so many to make even a dent in the stuff that you want to get for the terrarium and for your club room. When you tally up everything that you're most likely going to want throughout the course of your playthrough for this DLC, it racks up, man. A lot. I'm so glad that the BB League only costs like 50 points per person, because any more and I would have gotten angry, like straight up. If it cost like 1,000, I probably would have been really pissed, because that's a solid like half hour of grinding, minimum. So to clarify, I like the concept of BB points, but I want them to be utilized better if that's something that they plan on bringing back for any future title entry, whatever. Moving on, a super minute issue that I have is that the flying needs to be faster. It's really cool that we can earn the ability to fly with Koraidon and Miraidon, but it's way too slow. Slow to turn, slow to utilize, slow to move. It's way too slow. Patch that. Please, make it faster. That's it. That's my only problem. Make it faster. I like that it's there. Make it faster. Please, for the love of Shinx. That's it. Another thing here is that while I very much appreciate that we have the club room, why is it that we can decorate that, but we can't decorate our dorm room? We literally have the point system to buy stuff. Why can we not utilize that to buy stuff for our dorm room? What's going on? Why did you give us another dorm room if we can't do anything with it? It is literally the exact same problem. Now it's blue. Are you serious? Why did you even include a dorm room like this? Crazy to me. My last very specific problem that I have with this DLC is the fact that the legendary hunting is such a pain in the ass and not worth doing. I'm not doing it. I actually actively refuse to do it. The long and short of it is, it's really monotonous, and if you don't have friends to help you, it's actually impossible to do. So if you don't have friends, well, good luck, Chuck. That's dumb. That's really dumb. As somebody that doesn't have people that play Pokemon as excessively as I do, especially the most recent entries with these expensive-ass DLCs, there's no way. There's no way for me to do all of those legendaries if I wanted to, right? It would have to go really out of my way, and that's super annoying, and I'm not a big fan of that. Thankfully though, this is not something I need to worry about at all, considering the fact that I already have all of these legendaries 2 times over in my box in Pokemon Home. I don't need to hunt them a 5th time. I'm good. Especially because all of the legendary Pokemon are shiny locked. Why? What is the purpose of shiny locking anything? Ever? But whatever, all good. I already have a shiny variant of most of these legendaries somewhere, so I'm good. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. Now earlier I said that my last negative was my last negative specific to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's DLC, because what I'm about to say next kind of applies to every Pokemon DLC, beforehand and going forward. I was watching a stream while I was recording footage for this, and said streamer said something very interesting that resonated with me a lot, and I think going forward would be the best way to approach DLCs from now on, and that is that we should not have access to our Pokemon from prior playthroughs. One of the things that makes these DLCs kind of on the easier side, even with the challenge from the Indigo disc, is the fact that I already have Pokemon that are just well made, ready to fight already. They're good to go. The challenge needs to be improving myself and rebuilding a team that's ready to take on anybody, wherever. Imagine if, instead of just bringing over your level 100 from your previous playthrough, maybe they actually did make you catch Pokemon in the Terrarium, and that was the only set of Pokemon that you could use for your playthrough of the Indigo disc. Tell me that would not make things a little more interesting. It makes it very easy for me to bum rush the story if I really wanted to, because I have no reason to go around building up all of these other Pokemon. That is a grind that I've already done a year ago for this game. I don't want to do it a 3rd or 5th time. I'm good. However, if you take that option away from me and the story is interesting enough, well, now you've got me. Now I do have to do a little bit of a grind, actually go around fighting the trainers that are available in the terrarium, and have to catch and utilize Pokemon that I wouldn't usually use, especially because they're new Pokemon to this specific game. I gotta change up the way I think. I gotta reinvent my team a little bit. I don't have a crutch to rely on, and therefore makes it way more interesting. Or at the very least it does to me. You may not agree with me on that one, but I think that would change the game immensely. Probably in a good way, but again, that's just my opinion. But that's enough. I've rambled for almost half an hour. It's time to finally answer the question. Was the Indigo disc good? Yeah. No, it was fire. I had a great time. You guys have heard me complain a lot, especially about this DLC here. However, the thing is, I don't let my expectations and like my hopes get in the way of what's present. And what's present, it's not inherently bad at all. I had a good time with it, enough to actually get me back in a little bit of a groove and a grind, and actually make me go out of my way to battle Pokemon trainers, to do these side quests, to get invested in that story. I was having fun, and you know what? I think that makes it pretty damn good in my book. On top of this, just like I expected, it's so much better than Part 1, it's not even funny. Part 1 now feels like nothing more than a formality, and it's not even comparable to Part 2. The only thing that they have in common is that they both run like ass. Other than that, Part 2, the Indigo disc, clears Part 1 in literally every aspect that I could possibly think of. So, for the most part, in my personal opinion, I think that it was a pretty damn good note to end off the mainline games for Generation 9. I had a good time, the story was awesome, and it really wrapped everything up in a way that left me pretty satisfied for the most part. The funny thing is, I never went back to the DLCs for Pokemon Sword and Shield, but for Scarlet and Violet, oddly enough, I will be coming back. One way or another. We will play that by ear though. While I'm sure a lot of us are definitely in agreement that they had no real reason to like bum rush these DLCs to us like this, I'm glad they came out. I'm glad that they were a good time. I'm glad that there was still some love and care in them, at least enough to make the stories good and worth playing through for. So, you know, I'll take what I can get, and hopefully, I'm just hoping here, they just do better with the next pair of games. Whatever that may be. Hopefully not too soon though, because my goodness, give Game Freak a break. Please. And so with that, I have talked about pretty much everything regarding my thoughts about the Indigo disc. I enjoyed Part 2, hopefully you did too. But if you didn't, why don't you go ahead and tell me why? Yeah, the mic is right there. Tell me everything you guys are thinking about Part 2 of this DLC. Did you love it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Did you absolutely hate it? Do you despise it? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I am always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, yeah, it's time to skip that alone. I got a lot of videos to make before the end of the year here, which is in about 2 weeks, so I gotta bum rush some stuff myself. But you already know I'm going to be down there with you guys. So tell me everything, and I'm out of here. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!